Welcome to Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Today we're in the Inland Empire. We're joined by Sniff. He is the sheriff of Riverside County. And in the holiday season, we see beautiful lights, we see beautiful trees, and it's such a festive time, but it's also a time where many families are experiencing and remembering loss. And you want to focus on that at some point.
Yes, we're just fresh off of in Riverside County celebrating the memory of those that have fallen in the line of duty since the county's founding in 1893. Right. 64 officers from federal law enforcement, state and local law enforcement have perished or fallen in the line of duty in service to their communities. So every year during December, we end up having these Project Blue lights, right. And it's really designed for the surviving family members and friends and coworkers of those that have fallen.
And when I think about the last few years, Ryan Bonaminio, he was a Riverside Police deputy. I mean, the last few years have been tough.
It has, and just recently in Riverside County, as you know, Officers Zaribny and Vega out of Palm Springs Police Department were gunned down on a domestic violence call, a very common call that officers go to day in and day out.
Was that the one where the canine was also slain?
No, that's a different.
Okay, but we've had a lot happen in the last few years.
We have, and there just seems to be in 2016 a lot of officers, a great increase, some 21%, that just as of Monday have been killed in excess of the previous year.
Well, look, it's undeniable that police officers are becoming targets.
Exactly.
We think about what happened in Dallas. I mean, literally, there are people that are using police officers as their way to stand out against the man.
Exactly, and so it frightens a lot of officers because they're very, very vulnerable. We've seen ambushes go up some 170% just this year from previous, and these are unprovoked attacks where somebody is lying in wait.
Right.
The officer making a vehicle stop or just sitting there or even in a coffee shop within a group, and somebody goes in and shoots. We're also, as you well know, over the last couple of years, we're seeing a great increase in active shooters, and many of these terrorist incidents just like struck us just a year ago here in Inland Empire.
And let's talk about what happened a year ago. We recently remembered December 2nd, the San Bernardino terrorist attack where 14 individuals lost their lives. No law enforcement did. That doesn't minimize the tragedy of it all. But you have been acutely aware of the risks, and you are looking to increase the safety of the men and women who put their lives on the line every day. Explain for us what the general protective vest is before we talk about what you brought us today.
Well, when I first started in law enforcement in the mid-70s, working on a police department, vests were very much not seen or even heard of. And so the military technology that led to that, Kevlar and some of the ballistic nylon stuff out of the Vietnam War, came into the civilian sector. And some of us, myself included, bought out of their own pocket these little Kevlar panels that you could wear.
Your own pocket?
Own personal pocket that you could wear underneath your uniform, kind of not seen. They didn't cover your whole body, but over your vital organs. And they were designed to stop, at that time, largely handgun threats, 9mm and .22, and the most common things we encountered.
Right, and that has been its use, the vest use, and it has served officers well. But what we now know is that when you consider what happened in San Bernardino, in Dallas, that these bad guys are using rifles.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more high-powered rifles, a little bit more of the military-style rifles, sometimes rapid firing, but any of the rifles, even a hunting rifle, can do tremendous damage at great range.
And those Kevlar vests are not protective?
No, they're not suitable for that. They were designed for, and they became very mandatory with many of our agencies, Riverside County included. We got many federal grants, and they're very well established throughout the United States. They don't protect your head and some of the other vital areas, but they still increase the protection. And we saw after the 70s, officer deaths from gunfire actually go down. We're now seeing a change with active shooter and terrorist incidents and people wanting to go out in a blaze of glory and suicidal. Very different from the time when we could time, talk, and tear gas somebody out.
And so you brought for us a recent acquisition through the Riverside Sheriff's Department. This is known as a rifle plate. Explain what this is as I pick it up and it is heavy.
Yeah, it's very heavy. Each of the plates in both the front and the back portion of this is designed to be an application over and above the uniform for something that is a specific threat, like the officer's going to an active shooter call, gets enough time ahead of time that they're going into some type of potential terrorist incident. Anything where the potential for increased threat from rifle fire is going to be present. It cannot be worn day in and day out.
Why?
It's very heavy.
I mean, you're not joking.
No, it's very heavy.
Each plate is about 7 to 8 pounds.
Right.
And so you have 7 to 8 pounds on the front, 7 to 8 pounds on the back, in addition to that vest that you're wearing.
And all your other equipment that you're wearing.
And all the other equipment.
Right.
So, for example, on December 2nd, a deputy would throw this on, would don this as they are going to the regional center, let's say.
Right, or even a domestic violence call where there's a known potential for potential rifle being there. Some of the officers, if they have time, could pull this out of the trunk of their car, and we've now recently authorized this. The officers still individually purchase it. There'll be a time period when we can end up buying all these.
The officers have to buy this.
They end up buying this. And that's not a bad thing from the standpoint of there's a lot of different variations out there.
How much are these?
Oh, they run about $400 a plate.
I mean, what can we do? You know, I'm not feeling great about this. Forgive me, sir, but I'm not feeling great that the officers have to buy this themselves.
I think the initial push is to give them broad discretion because it's very personal as far as what type of armor and the certifications of that armor, and also the type of level of rifle fire that it will stop. There are a variety of these things, but many of them will end up using it for their own personal tax write-off. You may not
That's true.
You may not be aware of it, but our officers actually buy all their own firearms. Many of them buy their own shotguns.
What?
Oh, yes.
You mean the guns that you have on your belt?
That you think would be an issue, and you know why? Because of the diversity in our agencies. Big, small, everything in between, different hand sizes. The law enforcement arena that I grew up in the 70s, you're basically, no matter what size you were, you had to fit to the weapon.
I understand.
These days now, weapons are very modular and very changed where they'll actually fit the individual officer.
Okay, well let's forget the cost for a moment if I can. Explain how these work though, because...
Yeah, they're actually, again, military technology. They're ceramic plates. They're very brittle, so if you drop them on concrete, they'll actually shatter.
So if they're brittle, why are they effective?
Because they are brittle. And what happens is as the rifle projectile strikes us at high velocity, it actually tears up the projectile, and for about 2 or 3 rifle hits, and then pretty much the panel is gone. But it's basically the individual inside is protected from that.
But if you think about it, with 2 or 3 rifle hits, presumably evasive action can be taken. Am I off base on that?
Correct.
And
it just covers pretty much the critical organs on that. And again, it's in addition to the other ballistic armor that is carried under the uniform.
So are your officers signing up to acquire these?
Yes. In fact, it was a recommendation of a broad group within the department to end up having that posture to at least authorize it. The department...
Oh, you have to authorize it so they can purchase it.
Exactly.
I understand.
But set the parameters so it meets departmental standards. But that was done basically with a lot of input from the stakeholders, the actual officers themselves, and the rank and file actually had input through a series of committees on that.
Forgive me, I mean, if we wanted, our viewers wanted to donate so an officer could have purchase this, can they go through the foundation or?
Yeah, they can contact our department and we'd be more than happy to end up facilitating that part. But I think you're going to find that most of the equipment that we utilize is also very expensive, whether it's firearms and uniforms.
Okay, his name is Stan Sniff. He is the sheriff in Riverside County where we are today. My name is Brad Pomerance. Thanks for joining us on Charter Local Edition.